The creation of the Minecraft movie took nearly 10 years, which means the film went through tons of different ideas that were either discarded or changed along the way. Can you imagine how completely different this movie could have been if it had followed its original plans? In September 2024, even before the final version of the movie was released, artist Vance Kovacs shared some concept art he had created for the film a long time ago, which shows a completely different version from what we eventually saw in theaters, since the story originally featured the greatest villain from the game, the Ender Dragon. Apparently, the Minecraft adaptation was going to follow Steve's journey to fight the Ender Dragon. In other words, the story would have been basically the game's main quest, and it totally makes sense that one of the writer's first ideas was to stick to that path. If they hadn't changed course, we would have seen a more traditional fantasy-style adventure with Steve going step by step to reach the dragon, collecting ender pearls, building a portal to the Nether, obtaining blaze powder in the Nether, and combining the two to craft Eyes of Ender, then using those to find the portal to the End, the dimension where the dragon lives. We honestly have no idea why they decided to switch who the main villain would be, but there are some pretty good guesses. One strong possibility is that the writers or producers thought the story of a fearless hero with a sword taking down a dragon would be way too cliché for a Minecraft movie. Another explanation that actually makes a lot of sense is that they chose to save the Ender Dragon for the already confirmed sequel, letting the first movie's villain be Malgosia and her army of piglins as a kind of warm-up for what's coming next. That would explain why Steve's journey into the Nether happened so early in the movie. Since traveling through the Nether is necessary to reach the end, it shows that Steve hasn't had his big showdown with the Ender Dragon yet, and maybe that was a little hint for the hardcore fans that the real epic battle is still ahead. It's wild to think that we were originally supposed to see Steve facing the game's biggest villain right in the first movie, but get ready, because we're just getting started on all the deleted scenes from the Minecraft movie. So get comfy and dive in. This is Cinewave. If you thought deleting the Ender Dragon was a huge change, you're absolutely right, but that's nowhere near the craziest change they made. Believe it or not, the Minecraft movie, which got a lot of criticism for using real actors in CGI environments, was almost entirely animated. Concept art from way before they decided that Jack Black would play Steve shows that the character wasn't even supposed to look human. He would have been a blocky figure, just like he is in the game. The images showing this come from the same version where Steve's mission would have been to defeat the Ender Dragon, which makes perfect sense if you think about it. Back when the story was more faithful to the game, so was Steve's design. Still, the DNA of the final version was already present in this version too, because Steve would have been accompanied by a character who came from the real world and ended up in the overworld. This is just a theory, but maybe defeating the Ender Dragon would have been the key to returning to the real world, which would make a lot of sense. After all, in the game, a portal appears in the end after you defeat the boss. The difference is that it normally takes you back to the overworld, but changing it slightly so it could send people back to Earth wouldn't have been that big of a stretch. Now, something we really can't be sure about is whether the character who would have joined Steve in his adventure would also have been animated or played by a live-action actor like in the final version, since he isn't blocky. But judging by the art style, which still looks pretty cartoonish, it's likely he would have been animated too. Changing all this and switching to live-action actors was a pretty risky move, especially because it ended up being one of the biggest complaints fans had after the very first trailer, though over time, many fans warmed up to the final style. If you also think it would have been awesome to see that version of the movie, drop a comment below with #Steve. The movie featured a lot of elements taken straight from the game, like the diamond sword and the ender pearl. At the same time, it also invented brand new stuff, like Henry's potato launcher, Garrett's double bucket, and gas being used as mounts by several piglins, just to name a few. But the movie was also supposed to include something even crazier, a giant piglin robot. The idea was that when it came time to invade the village, the piglin army would build a Trojan horse. But instead of a horse, it would be a giant piglin robot that would roll into the village and then open up so dozens of soldiers could pour out from inside. The funny thing is, the real Trojan horse worked because nobody realized there were soldiers hidden inside. Did Malgosia's army really think nobody would suspect that a giant robot shaped like a piglin would have been built by piglins? That would have made the scene even funnier, which makes it a real shame that it never happened. In fact, the production team wanted the robot to be something players could actually build in-game, and they even asked Mumbo Jumbo, a super popular YouTuber known for his insane Minecraft builds, to create the robot in-game using complex redstone mechanisms that only a veteran Minecraft player could pull off. Unfortunately, even after he built the robot, this and many of his other designs ended up being cut from the movie because they couldn't quite fit it into the final story. Oh well, right? Of course, there are tons of deleted scenes we would have loved to see in the final cut. But hey, you can't have everything in life, can ya? Unless the movie was like 50 hours long. Now let's talk about a scene that wasn't deleted but actually added, even though it wasn't originally planned for the movie. The scene we're talking about is the one where a pig wearing a crown appears in the middle of the village where Steve stores his weapons. You might have already heard that this little pig is a really sweet tribute to Technoblade, a Minecraft YouTuber who passed away in 2022 and remains a legend in the community. The pig is there to represent him, since Technoblade's avatar famously looked like a pig wearing a crown. Thing is, this scene wasn't in the original plan and was only added late into production. It was actually actor Sebastian Hansen who played Henry who suggested adding a tribute to Technoblade. This just shows the advantage of casting people who genuinely love Minecraft and are a part of the community themselves. See, sometimes the changes that happen during a movie's production end up making it even better. One of the reasons a Minecraft movie was so successful was its marketing campaign, and it's no surprise because marketing is super important when it comes to getting people to buy movie tickets, with a few exceptions of course. But one curious thing is that a McDonald's commercial featured a dragon egg, the item that the Ender Dragon drops after being defeated in the game. We can't say for sure that this means the dragon egg was supposed to appear in the movie at some point, but it's pretty strange for a commercial to highlight such a specific game item, especially considering players only find a dragon egg after beating the main story, and plenty of players have been playing for over a decade without ever seeing it happen. And considering that the original plan was for Steve to fight the Ender Dragon himself, it's extremely likely that the egg would have been found after the villain's defeat. Now the big question is, would we have seen the egg hatch and reveal a baby dragon, something that never actually happens in the game? Thinking about that just makes us even more excited to find out if a Minecraft Movie 2 will be all about Steve and his friends facing the Ender Dragon once and for all. And if you want to keep discovering tons of awesome facts about your favorite movies and shows, just hit that subscribe button. That way, you'll always get our daily videos. The version that made it to theaters featured a bunch of animals: pink sheep, llamas, pigs, and of course Dennis the Wolf, Steve's loyal sidekick. If you count the piglins as animals too, the number only goes up, but in that case, somebody better call an animal rights group because the heroes really beat up a lot of them without mercy. But what if we told you that from the looks of it, the production team actually thought about putting a kitten in the movie? We know this because there are photos showing square-shaped cat props that were made for the film adaptation. This means that one or more scenes featuring a cat were deleted. Would the cat have been just a background detail, or would it have played a bigger role in the story? Well, cats are Creeper's weakness, so Garrett probably wouldn't have taken a Creeper blast right to the face if he had been carrying a kitten around. One thing we definitely can't complain about is the iron golems that showed up in the movie. There were lots of golems with really cool designs, and they even threw in one wearing a speed boot. But none of them were actual characters with personalities and development. Apparently, that could have been different because concept art shows human kids from Earth playing with an iron golem. Many fans believe there would have been a side story about a friendship between the humans and the golems, showing that even creatures built by villagers to defend towns could have feelings too. The movie also featured cameos from several Minecraft YouTubers, and one of them who filmed a scene was Valkyrie. However, for some reason that's still unclear, her appearance ended up getting cut from the final version. Nobody knows for sure why her scene was removed, but one theory is that it might have something to do with Valkyrie allegedly saying that she saw Jason Momoa, the actor who plays Garrett, mistreating the film crew. No one knows if that's true or not, but the story probably didn't help the movie's public image, and maybe it even made some producers mad at her. We left 2 really fun videos on your screen. Just click on the one that grabs your attention the most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time!